Hello everyone, Eric with HamRadioConcepts. Finally, the video of PSK31. PSK in general. Phase shift keying. PSK is one of the many digital forms of communication on HF. And all the way up to VHF, actually. PSK, basically, I'm going to sum it up in one sentence, and then we're going to break it down, and I'm going to keep it general for anybody. I don't like confusing people. So, I'm going to break it down in one sentence what PSK is, and then we'll go into some of the aspects and show you. So if you're talking about PSK, it's having a keyboard-to-keyboard conversation with another person over HF. Period. There's two radios, one on each end, and instead of picking up the microphone and talking into it, your computer is sending a digital, almost sounds like a fax machine or a old dial-up modem signal into your radio, and that's being transmitted over HF. That's it. I say that's it, but it's very unique in its own way. I mean, when voice doesn't work, when phone doesn't work, when the signals are bad, PSK always works. This is what it sounds like when you're listening to PSK. I'll turn it up a little bit here. And those are multiple conversations, multiple signals going on at the same time. And then if you go up a little bit, now this is a different mode. I think this is JT65 or. So your PSK is on 14070. It's kind of like a weak signal mode. You don't get on PSK with a 12-element Yagi at 500 feet with 1.5 kW. No. Right now, I'm set up for 20 watts. I even got my little stats in here. 20 watts on an MFJ cobweb. All right. I love doing PSK on 5 watts with about the most impractical antenna I can find. Right now, though, I'm using the cobweb, and 5 watts, 10 watts. I think usually 30, 35 is the max. But and if you have a beam, of course, you'd want to keep it on 5 watts or as low as possible. So a weak signal mode. You can there's people that make contacts on PSK to countries they've never even heard on phone. Okay, so it's really simple. It's not that expensive to get into at all. In fact, there is an app on Android and probably iPhone where you can set your radio to 14070 and you'll hear something like this. Not sure if you can hear that digital signal here. Alright. But basically, you're hearing it, the phone or the tablet will hear that, and you just set it on the table, and it'll draw out all of what you're seeing here. But this program here, this is Digital Master. I'm familiar with Digital Master since day one of PSK, so I've stuck with it. Digital Master comes in Ham Radio Deluxe. That's a whole other video. But Digital Master can be used by itself, and there are a handful of software programs out there, FL Digi, and all kinds of software out there that you can use, and some people like one over the other. But let's go into what you're seeing here on the screen, and we'll touch on some aspects. Right now, down here, the biggest thing you're probably watching is the waterfall. The waterfall is basically, you're on 14.070 on 20 meters, and this is the spectrum 3 kilohertz wide of what you're seeing. So at any given time on 14070, you can have people, when I say people, each one of these white lines are indicating, look up here, a contact, a keyboard-to-keyboard contact. Okay? Every time you click on a line, you get somebody else's, simultaneous. So one advantage is when you have somebody on 14.250 and they just won't stop talking and you can't get in there, PSK kind of works different. You know, you see on the waterfall that this guy is here. So if I wanted to talk, I'm going to move over. That's where I would talk, right there. And on contest day, it's amazing what you'll see. I mean, on contest day with good signal propagation, this thing's littered with white lines. And, you know, a lot of people, I've done it before. I've got on PSK and had rag chew with someone for an hour. I mean, I've sat there and talked back and forth. And some people say, well, that's like watching paint dry. And other people say, well, I like to hit it and run. I get on there, like this person here, you know, this is who I am, this is what I'm running, 7-3. Well, if that's what you want, sure. Get on there and just collect contacts, you know. On a contest day, that's probably what they do. Name, QTH, or grid, signal report, 7-3. But I've gone on here and talked with someone for a while, and it was fun. So, looking at these, and right now it's 6:48, so the band's starting to die down toward the end of the day. But again, when you can't hear phone or voice, most of the time, PSK is going to work. All right. In fact, if I turn this up with this one little guy right here, if I turn this up, all I hear is static. But when I hear static, usually you connect the radio and you'll see you see the signal right here. All right, there we go. So, not sure if you can hear that, but so basically, okay, so we've touched on the waterfall here, and these are people, you know, talking. You'll notice that the speed is probably as fast as you can type. I like to have a race. I like to out-type this. I mean, I'm a fast typer. But with PSK31, there's also, if you look right here, PSK63. Okay? Now you're typing, how do I put it? You're twice as fast. The letters go twice as fast. You know, and then PSK 125. Now, you'll notice that each one of these, like 125 stands for 125 hertz bandwidth. So the signal is wider. And that's primarily why PSK 31 is such a efficient mode at a weak signal, because it's very, very, very narrow. It cuts through. I mean, it's very slim. When you go to something like RTTY would be a lot wider. Notice the white lines here would represent the width of the signal. So RTTY is quite wide. See that compared to PSK? And if you even go up here, yeah. So RTTY is a lot. RTTY's great, but PSK is definitely a very narrow. So, anyways, when you're looking at PSK 63 and 125, not very many people on there. Primarily because it's so fast. I mean, it's fast. In fact, I'll do this. I'll click here, and I'll show you how fast this thing types. I'll just throw a call out. Watch this. Okay, that's pretty fast. Now, if you're watching that, trying to type that, you're going to, you know, you can't really out-type that. It's pretty fast. But as PSK 31, it's kind of slower. Check this out. See it typing right here? CQ, CQ, DE, KJ4, YZI. So it's a little bit slower. Alright, so focus for now on PSK31 if you're not familiar with it. Alright. Now, what we're looking at here, now, a lot of people, what they do is they use macros. And what macros are, if you don't feel like typing this, there's a macro like this. See? CQ, CQ, this is KJ4YZI. And that one I use. I do use that because, once you put that out and people start clicking on signals here and they say, oh, well, look, someone's calling CQ, and they can jump back to you. But when I'm talking, you see this right here? This is a macro. Now, this person here has this typed, much like I do up here. Okay? And they just copy and paste this, or click on right here, see? Call sign, locator, QTH, or, I could put all that in there. I don't do that, okay? But it's a quick way of showing you where they're at, what they're using, and such. But To me, I think the only beneficial using of a macro would be the location here, because it automatically puts up the heading so that in case you have a beam or something, in grid square. Other than that, because it goes by your GPS and QTH, where, not GPS, but QTH or locator, where they're at, how far away they are from you. Other than that, I type it out. So, some people, again, they want to use macros. They say, why do I want to type that? Okay, well, I like interacting with it. I like typing. Hey, man, how you doing? Wow, that antenna's working good at 5 watts. I'm using a homemade interface. This is how I did it. But to each his own, whatever you want. A couple numbers, important numbers over here that a lot of people look for is your intermodulation distortion, or your IMD number, your signal to noise ratio. So this basically, what a lot of people, what you don't want to do is you don't want to overdrive your radio or overdrive your computer. The computer being the receive from the radio, or the radio being the transmit from the computer, because that's when you get distortion. That's when, if you use a lot of power and way too high of a drive to your radio, you're going to blank this thing out. You're going to see multiple signals on here. You see someone's signal on here multiple times. It looks like trash. And then other people like this guy over here, if this was any, see, you can barely see this one because this one's covering up everybody. Now, that's not saying he has a lot of power. I'm just saying he's got a really strong copy to me. But if you think you get on there with 1,000 watts and a directional 6-element Yagi, it's not going to be fun anymore. Because either A, you're going to blank the thing out, or you're going to have all these contacts calling for you, and you're not going to be able to respond to them. And plus, it's just bad practice. This guy right here, I don't know what he's using. But I was using a Flex 6700 at 40 watts. There you go. And he's using the same software I am. Digital Master 780. All right. So, do you raise your hand if you have somewhat of an idea of what I'm talking about here? All right. There's a lot of different aspects in here. One thing that you have to make sure, and I'm going to make a contact on here real quick. One thing you want to make sure is that your sound card is not jacked up all the way. So on my MFJ USB interface, which the video on my YouTube channel right before this one shows the device I'm using, a quick device. So I can adjust my audio levels on the device that's plugged into the back of the radio. That way I don't have to really mess with the sound card. I keep this like almost halfway, then I tweak it so that my ALC is almost 0, but it's keying the radio via the Vox method on the data port in the back. So, this program right here you can use by itself, or you can link it with Ham Radio Deluxe like I am, and then you can control, the different aspects of the radio with the DM780 working. But if you just want to use the Digital Master, you can via sound card interface to the computer or to the radio. And your radio has to support Vox on the digital connector in the back in order to use that. Alright, so I'm going to make a contact real quick. You want to watch on the waterfall because you see there's people that can be occupying this, and you're only hearing one side of the signal of the conversation. So don't assume this is free. You may only be hearing the other party. You don't necessarily see both the people talking. So, I'm going to pick this little spot right here. Seems to be free, hopefully. And I'm just going to throw a CQ out there 3 times. Now, I'm actually transmitting. And, of course, you can't transmit and receive at the same time. If you notice how my little signal right here doesn't look too large. You can see, it doesn't look like a solid white line. That would be bad. That would be overmodulating the radio. Okay, and it stops. Now, I just put a CQ out there. If somebody heard that or saw that, they would click on that line and write a message back to me. Sometimes it takes a couple seconds. Sometimes there's some guy right here next to you. He's calling CQ. Let me respond to him. Watch this. I can right-click on his call sign. And then I'll go like this, reply. Alright, now it fills his call sign in there. It's automatically going to stop when it's done. Alright. And there he is, see? KJ4YZI. This is KB0RM. Nice to meet you today. Now this is 20 watts, alright? And he's going to use a macro here. Now watch what I like to do. Ready? I'm going to start typing in his response. And I'm looking up and watching the screen also. He's done now. Now watch this. I can stay ahead of the signal. Send. Now. And see what I just did? Now I out-typed it. Now you don't have to do that, but that's what I do. That way, he's not standing there or sitting there watching me type one at a time. You know, because sometimes if this little blue line catches up to you, then you're just going to be transmitting dead space. So don't be discouraged on my typing speed, and don't be discouraged on how I do it. That's just how I do it. All right. And then you just hit the erase here, and that erases everything. For some reason, you can't backspace in the window. I don't know. But now see, there's a dead space here, so I'm waiting on him. Unless propagation changed. Oh, there he is. He visited Vero Beach. Look at that. Where was he at again? He's up in Pennsylvania. Okay. I don't know if I lost him or what. No, he's there. And here's his other macro here with the Kenwood. No problem using that whatsoever. I know there's going to be people out there that say, oh, that's just how I like to do it. I just like to keep it real. And using PSK, it's hard to type faster than that thing. So you kind of have to get ahead of it on 63 or 125 because that thing just, you can't type that fast. Wow, he's using a banana pie. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. You get to see what a lot of different stations are using on here, you know. I'm not transmitting, I'm just typing until this thing says I'm transmitting when I hit the button. Back to you, Eric. See? Okay. Alright, so that was a simple conversation on PSK31. A lot of different digital modes out there. A lot of them operate a little bit different. Some of them you have to catch at certain times of the day for bands, or some of them are only used on contesting. Some of them are better for certain things than others. PSK seems to be the best overall choice, and seems to work very well. Again, I'm a big fan of QRP, so I love doing this. What I want to do is do this at 5 watts on my FT817 portable with a little telescopic antenna. That would be pretty cool to do. Overall, I hope you enjoyed the overview of PSK. Again, nothing to really confuse you. I just wanted you to see it. And the comments usually leave a lot to be learned in the comments below in my videos. So check out the video of the interface I used for this, the MFJ1204. And I hope to work you on the band someday. Maybe we'll do another video down the road of maybe RIDI or some of these other hundreds. Look at this. All kinds of digital modes. Maybe we'll do one of those sometime. 7-3 from KJ4YZI.